So the idea is this: if you support the Every Child Matters and you support the 60 Scoop, then support this. The face of the case just happens to be First Nation, but not every class member is First Nation, even though the face of the case happens to be First Nation. And is that why? Because I look at the Timmins Native Friendship Center and it's like, support this. The face of the case is First Nation, but not every class member is First Nation. You got white kids in there too. You got probably every race. And is that why they don't support it? Because like the 60 Scoop in the residential school, every member was First Nation or Indigenous, but this one isn't. This one's about, you're taken away from mom and dad, and they call it a crown ward. You're a ward of the crown. Basically, the queen becomes your mother. Yeah. And the idea is you're apprehended. Like let's use my case for an example. I'm apprehended. There's a lot of temporary care agreements. I'm going back from foster home back to mom between the ages of 3 and 9 in Timmins. Me and my mom leave Timmins. We go to Sudbury, and that's when I become a crown ward. And the idea is that when you become a crown ward, you're a ward of the crown. Like I said, the queen is now your mother. And they just see crown ward. I just keep going on in my mind, and I keep thinking, if you support the Every Child Matters and you support the 60 Scoop, well, then support this crown ward class action. I know it's not. I think it was a good idea for them to use Holly Papacy and have the face of the case be like, look at, if it mattered, the law firm is Koski Minsky LLP, okay, and the lawyer's name is Jonathan Patak, and I think that if the lawyers chose to be strategic like that and go Holly Papacy, let's use her as the face of the case, she's Indigenous. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you had Holly Papacy promised by a Thunder Bay lawyer, I promise you I'll start that class action. And then they have Holly, they have the Thunder Bay lawyers, keeping their promise, and then, okay, we need a few more faces of the case. So they get a white woman who's in Thunder Bay, and she happens to be a former police officer for the Thunder Bay. She's not just a former foster child, but she's a former police officer for the Thunder Bay Sex Crimes Unit. And has a life the Simpsons, the cartoon The Simpsons, when Marge becomes a police officer and then she experiences there's an episode where Marge Simpson becomes a police officer and then she experiences all this abuse within the force. Yeah. That's what happened to this lady.
Briefly, the 60 Scoop.
Yeah.
I never heard of it.